Back us up just slightly for context, where whatever you want to say about the creation to season 1 to where we are in season 2. Just give us some context of where you were at that time.
Sure, I'll do my best, and I'm going to try to make it brief. But if you're familiar with my work, you know that brevity can be a challenge for me. To begin with, The West Wing was an accident. Okay, it was one of those times when being timid paid off. Really, I had never thought about doing television. I watched as much television as anybody, but I didn't know anything about how you make a television show, how you write a television show. I was faking my way as a screenwriter. The only thing I felt comfortable as was a playwright. But I was writing movies too. And my agent said, I want you to have lunch with John Wells. And everybody knew that John Wells was a really quality television producer. He had ER, he had China Beach on the air. And I said, sure, I'll have lunch with John Wells, but I had no intention of doing a television show. And the night before that lunch with John Wells, I had some friends over to my house for dinner. One of those friends was a writer named Akiva Goldsman, who had not yet won the Academy Award for writing A Beautiful Mind. And I told him about the lunch I was having the next day. But, it's just a lunch. I'm not going to be doing a television series. And during dinner, we snuck off down to my office down in the basement to have a cigarette. It's also a rare moment when smoking paid off. And he looked at the posters on my wall, and he pointed to the poster for The American President, which is a romantic comedy I'd written in the 90s. And he said, you know what would make a good television series? Forget about the romance between the president and the lobbyist, if you just kind of focused on the senior staff at the White House. I said, Kiwi, I'm not going to write a television series. I don't know how. I'm just having lunch tomorrow. When I got to the lunch the next day, I walked in the restaurant. I could instantly see this is not what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't a, hey, how are you doing lunch? John had come with several executives from Warner Brothers, several agents from CAA. And I sat down, and John said, so, what do you want to do? And instead of saying, I think there's been a misunderstanding, I don't have anything to pitch, I said, I want to do a show about senior staffers at the White House. And he reached his hand across the table and said, you got a deal. And I left her thinking, oh no. I have to write a television pilot. And that's all I was thinking. There was never going to be a second episode of this thing. Because in my head, I just kind of knew it wasn't going to be for anybody. Shows about politics never work on television. They're anathema on network television. Television, and I'm talking about network television. Its entire history, entertainment history, not the William Paley history, entertainment history, had been about alienating as few people as possible. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's why the first television shows didn't take place anywhere. They always took place in Springfield, mm-hmm. someplace. You did not see people of color. There was no religion. The father was a businessman. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he was in advertising, because you wanted the audience to feel like everybody was like them. Well, this was a show where we were going to use words like Democrat and Republican, and the conflict was going to be ideas, and some people were going to disagree with those ideas.